Do you think your garden has to fade away after summer? Think again. Just when many gardens start looking tired, there are flowers that burst into life, filling your beds and borders with color, texture, and joy. Today, I'm going to show you 17 autumn perennials that will keep your garden glowing all through September. These are flowers that don't just survive the cooler days, they absolutely thrive in them. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Let's dive straight in, because your garden deserves to shine this season. Chrysanthemums, the queen of autumn. The first flower we cannot ignore is the chrysanthemum, often simply called mums. Now, I know many gardeners think of mums as something you buy in a pot and toss away once they're done blooming. But here's the truth. When you treat them right, mums are powerful perennials that come back year after year with even stronger blooms. They thrive in full sun, and what makes them so special is their endless variety of colors. Rich oranges, deep purples, vibrant yellows, and even elegant whites. Imagine walking into your garden in September and seeing a burst of autumn fire all from these blooms. Here's a little secret. If you pinch back the stems in early summer, your mums will produce fuller plants with more blooms in autumn. That small step makes all the difference between a pot that looks tired and one that looks like a dazzling bouquet. If you're worried about maintenance, don't be. Mums are hardy, forgiving, and all they ask for is well-drained soil and a bit of water during dry spells. For senior gardeners especially, they're perfect. Little effort, huge reward. Now, here's my first question for you. Do you already have mums in your garden, or will this be the year you finally give them a chance? Let me know, because I always love hearing your gardening stories. Asters, the stars of September. The next flower I call the September star, the aster. True to their name, these flowers look like tiny stars scattered across your garden. They come in shades of purple, pink, and blue, with golden centers that attract bees and butterflies in huge numbers. Asters are perennials that love the cooler weather, and their blooms can last well into October if frost comes late. They're also brilliant for filling in those gaps in your border when summer flowers begin to die down. One of the best things about asters is how pollinator-friendly they are. If you love to see butterflies fluttering around or hear the gentle hum of bees, asters are your ticket. Plant them in sunny spots with moist, well-drained soil, and you'll have a living carpet of color by early fall. Here's a little tip. Cut them back after their first flush, and you'll often get a second burst of blooms. It's almost like having two gardens in one. And let's be honest, for many women, especially those who've spent decades tending gardens, seeing a plant that works double duty feels like a small miracle. That's why asters are one of my must-haves for September gardens. Sedum Autumn Joy, the reliable showstopper. Now, if there's one plant that truly lives up to its name, it's Sedum Autumn Joy. This perennial is a superstar in autumn gardens. The blooms start as pale green, then slowly blush into deep pink, before finally turning a rich bronze red as the season progresses. It's like watching a flower go through the entire story of autumn, right there in your garden. Sedum is incredibly low maintenance. It's drought-tolerant, thrives in poor soil, and once established, you barely have to touch it. For gardeners who don't want to spend hours bent over, this plant is a blessing. But don't let its toughness fool you. Sedum Autumn Joy is also delicate in beauty. The domed clusters of blooms stand tall and proud, and they look stunning when paired with ornamental grasses or mums. If you're someone who loves making little arrangements for your home, snip a few stems of sedum and you'll have a bouquet that lasts for weeks indoors. Here's a thought. Pair sedum with golden Rudbeckia, and you'll create one of the most breathtaking September combinations you've ever seen. Now, before I reveal the next autumn jewel, I want to pause and ask you, are you enjoying these tips so far? If yes, don't forget to give this video a like, because it really helps this community grow. Rudbeckia, the Golden Glow. Next up is one of my absolute favorites, Rudbeckia, also known as Black-Eyed Susans. If you want your garden to radiate sunshine even on gray September days, Rudbeckia is your answer. Their golden yellow petals with deep brown centers are iconic. They bring warmth, cheer, and life to the garden, and they bloom prolifically. One plant can give you dozens upon dozens of flowers, stretching from midsummer all the way into fall. Here's why older gardeners love Rudbeckia. They're hardy. Once planted, they don't ask for much, just sun, average soil, and occasional watering in extreme heat. They even self-seed, so next year you might find happy little Rudbeckias popping up as a surprise gift from your garden. Pollinators adore them too. Bees, butterflies, even little garden birds, all are drawn to Rudbeckia. If you've ever wanted a plant that not only looks good, but brings life buzzing into your garden, this is the one. Let me ask you, do you already grow Rudbeckia? If not, can you picture the glow they'd add to your borders this September? Drop your answer below because I love seeing which flowers resonate most with you. Echinacea, the healing beauty. And finally, for this first section, let's talk about the Echinacea or coneflower. These are more than just beautiful, they're legendary. Their daisy-like blooms with spiky centers come in shades of purple, pink, white, and even orange, and they stand tall, often 2 to 4 feet high. Echinacea blooms from midsummer right into fall, and by September, they're still going strong. But here's what makes them extra special. They don't just add beauty, they bring resilience. Echinacea is famously tough, drought-resistant, and beloved by pollinators. And for many gardeners, there's a sentimental side. These flowers have been used in herbal remedies for centuries, symbolizing healing and strength. Planting them feels like planting a little piece of tradition, a link to those who came before us. Here's my tip. Don't deadhead them too early. Leave the seed heads through autumn because they look striking in the garden and provide food for birds. Watching goldfinches perch on coneflower heads is one of the sweetest sights of fall. Echinacea, the healing beauty. And finally, for this first section, let's talk about the Echinacea, or coneflower. These are more than just beautiful, they're legendary. Their daisy-like blooms with spiky centers come in shades of purple, pink, white, and even orange, and they stand tall, often 2 to 4 feet high. Echinacea blooms from midsummer right into fall, and by September, they're still going strong. But here's what makes them extra special. They don't just add beauty, they bring resilience. Echinacea is famously tough, drought-resistant, and beloved by pollinators. And for many gardeners, there's a sentimental side. These flowers have been used in herbal remedies for centuries, symbolizing healing and strength. Planting them feels like planting a little piece of tradition, a link to those who came before us. Here's my tip. Don't deadhead them too early. Leave the seed heads through autumn because they look striking in the garden and provide food for birds. Watching goldfinches perch on coneflower heads is one of the sweetest sights of fall. Helenium, the fiery burst of autumn. Let's begin with Helenium, sometimes called sneezeweed, though don't let that old-fashioned name fool you. This flower is nothing to sneeze at. It's a true showstopper, one of the most fiery perennials you can grow in autumn. Helenium blooms with daisy-like flowers in warm shades of orange, red, and yellow, colors that look like they were stolen straight from a sunset. In September, when the light softens in the evenings, these flowers seem to glow with an inner fire. They can grow up to 4 feet tall, standing proudly in the back of a border, adding both height and drama. And unlike some plants that fade quickly, Helenium keeps going for weeks, making sure your garden doesn't lose its rhythm when summer fades. Here's a tip many gardeners don't know. If you cut Helenium back by about 1/3 in early summer, it will flower later and stay shorter, producing a bushier plant with even more blooms in autumn. A simple trick that doubles your display. And if you're a gardener who loves pollinators, Helenium is your friend. Its nectar-rich blooms are like magnets for bees and butterflies, ensuring your garden stays lively even as the air cools. Tell me honestly, can you picture these glowing blooms lighting up your garden this September? Wouldn't it be wonderful to see them dance in the breeze as the leaves start turning? Montauk Daisy, the surprise bloomer. Next, let's talk about the Montauk Daisy. This flower is a little secret jewel that many gardeners overlook, and yet it deserves a place in every autumn garden. At first glance, Montauk daisies look like the classic white daisy we all know and love. But here's the twist. While most daisies bloom in spring or summer, the Montauk daisy waits until autumn to put on its show. Imagine, just when other flowers are winding down, these cheerful white blooms with golden centers burst open, brightening up your borders. They thrive in full sun and well-drained soil, and once established, they're surprisingly tough. They can handle salty air, dry conditions, and even neglect. For older gardeners who want beauty without constant fuss, Montauk daisies are like a loyal friend who never lets you down. Now, here's the clever bit. Montauk daisies start blooming around late September and can keep going into November if frost is gentle. That means they're one of the last flowers standing when everything else has said goodbye. And I want you to think about this. Wouldn't it be lovely, as you sip your tea on a cool October morning, to look out and still see fresh daisies smiling back at you? That's the gift the Montauk daisy brings. If you've never grown them before, this is your sign. They're easy, forgiving, and will surprise you every autumn with their endurance. Goldenrod, the golden carpet of autumn. Now, some of you might hear the word goldenrod and think of weeds. But let me set the record straight. Goldenrod is not just some wild plant. In the right setting, it's one of the most breathtaking perennials you can grow. With tall stems crowned in sprays of tiny golden yellow flowers, goldenrod can transform a dull border into a sea of gold. It's the kind of plant that catches the light beautifully, especially in the early morning or late afternoon sun. Here's the wonderful part. Goldenrod is incredibly hardy. It grows in poor soils, it's drought-tolerant, and once it's in your garden, it will reward you with years of color without asking much in return. And contrary to an old myth, goldenrod doesn't cause allergies. That's ragweed. So you can enjoy it without fear. Goldenrod also plays a crucial role in supporting wildlife. As one of the last sources of nectar in autumn, it feeds bees, butterflies, and migrating insects that need energy for the winter ahead. If you plant goldenrod, you're not just adding beauty, you're creating a lifeline for pollinators. Pair it with purple asters or the dusky pink of Sedum Autumn Joy, and you'll create a contrast so striking that your garden will stop visitors in their tracks. And I want you to think about this. Wouldn't it be lovely, as you sip your tea on a cool October morning, to look out and still see fresh daisies smiling back at you? That's the gift the goldenrod brings. If you've never grown them before, this is your sign. They're easy, forgiving, and will surprise you every autumn with their endurance. Perennial sunflowers, the endless sunshine. When you hear the word sunflower, you probably think of those tall annual giants that tower in the summer and fade by September. But let me introduce you to their reliable cousin, the perennial sunflower. Unlike annuals, perennial sunflowers return year after year, bringing sunshine to your garden well into autumn. They may not be as tall as their annual relatives, but they more than make up for it with sheer abundance. Their cheerful yellow blooms cover the plant in a blanket of sunshine, often lasting from late August into October. These sunflowers love full sun and well-drained soil, and once they're happy, they spread generously, creating clumps that get bigger and more dazzling each year. For gardeners who want a plant that multiplies without constant care, perennial sunflowers are a dream. Here's something I love about them. They have a way of lifting your mood. On those shorter September days when evenings come earlier, just stepping outside and seeing those golden faces glowing in your garden is enough to brighten the spirit. If you want to keep your garden joyful deep into autumn, perennial sunflowers are one of the best choices you can make. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this journey through autumn perennials, give this video a quick like. It's a small click for you, but it makes a world of difference in helping this community grow. Caryopteris, bluebeard, the unexpected blue. Finally, let's talk about a plant that always surprises people. Caryopteris, also known as bluebeard. While autumn gardens are often filled with warm colors, yellows, oranges, reds, Caryopteris brings something unexpected, a stunning burst of blue. Its soft, aromatic gray-green foliage sets the stage, and in late summer into autumn, it erupts with clusters of vivid blue flowers. That blue is like a piece of sky captured in your garden, and it pairs beautifully with the golden hues of Rudbeckia or the fiery tones of Helenium. Caryopteris is a shrub-like perennial, usually around 2 to 3 feet tall, and it thrives in sunny spots with well-drained soil. It's drought-tolerant, low-maintenance, and as a bonus, the flowers are a magnet for bees and butterflies. There's something almost magical about seeing blue flowers in September, when most gardens lean toward the warm spectrum. Caryopteris offers balance, a cool note that makes the warm tones sing even louder. If you've ever wished your autumn garden had something different, something unique that makes people stop and say, "What is that beautiful plant?" Caryopteris is the answer. Hardy geraniums, the garden's gentle companion. First on this list are the hardy geraniums, often called cranesbills. These are not the same as the annual geraniums most people grow in pots. Hardy geraniums are tough, dependable perennials that return every year and bring waves of charm into your garden. What makes them perfect for September is their ability to bloom repeatedly. Many varieties flower in early summer, rest for a while, and then come back in autumn with fresh blossoms, delicate, soft, and endlessly cheerful. They love partial shade to sun, and they spread gently, covering bare spots in a way that feels natural and unforced. For older women who may not want to bend down and fuss with gaps in the border, hardy geraniums quietly do the job for you. Here's a tip. After their first bloom, shear them back lightly. Within weeks, you'll see new leaves and a second flush of flowers right in time for autumn. I want you to picture this. Soft pinks, blues, or purples spilling gracefully over the edge of a border, still smiling when many other plants have given up. Doesn't that sound like the kind of gentle companion every garden deserves? Coreopsis, the sunshine that never quits. Next, we have Coreopsis, often called tickseed, though I prefer its prettier name, the flower of endless sunshine. Coreopsis is one of those plants that just won't stop blooming. Its daisy-like flowers and golden yellow, sometimes with red centers, begin in summer and carry right into September. Even as the days shorten, Coreopsis keeps shining, as though it refuses to let go of the season's joy. It thrives in poor soils, it's drought-tolerant, and once established, it requires almost no attention. For older gardeners, that's a gift, a flower that keeps going without constant care. Here's the best part. Coreopsis comes in both tall and compact forms. You can tuck the smaller varieties in containers on your porch, or let the taller ones sway in your borders. Either way, they'll bring a touch of golden warmth to your autumn garden. And I'll tell you something from my own experience. Every time I see Coreopsis still blooming late in the season, it feels like a little promise that beauty doesn't have to end just because summer does. Now let me ask you, have you ever tried growing Coreopsis? If not, maybe this is the year to let its sunshine into your garden. Verbena bonariensis, the butterfly magnet. If you want a plant that doesn't just decorate your garden, but brings it to life, look no further than Verbena bonariensis. This tall, airy perennial rises on slim stems topped with clusters of tiny purple flowers. It may look delicate, but it's tough and reliable. And here's the magic. Butterflies absolutely adore it. Plant Verbena bonariensis and your September garden will become a stage filled with fluttering wings. The flowers appear from midsummer right through autumn, often until frost. Because the stems are thin, they don't block your view. They float like purple clouds above your other plants, adding height without heaviness. They thrive in full sun with average soil, and once established, they self-seed gently, ensuring you'll always have more of them in the years to come. For gardeners who love movement and life, Verbena bonariensis is priceless. Imagine sipping your tea and watching butterflies hover over your garden as these flowers sway in the breeze. Doesn't that sound like the perfect September afternoon? And by the way, if this vision excites you, don't forget to hit that like button. It lets me know you're enjoying these tips, and it helps more gardeners discover the beauty of autumn blooms. Russian sage, the mist of autumn. Next, let's bring in some atmosphere with Russian sage. This perennial doesn't just bloom, it creates an aura. With silvery gray foliage and tall spikes of lavender blue flowers, Russian sage gives your garden a misty, dreamlike quality. In September, when the light turns golden, those soft plumes seem to glow, creating a magical backdrop for everything else. It thrives in full sun, poor soil, and dry conditions. In fact, the tougher the spot, the better it does. Once planted, it asks almost nothing from you, yet it rewards you with month after month of ethereal color. Russian sage can reach 3 to 5 feet tall, making it a striking presence in any border. And the fragrance. Every time you brush past it, you'll catch a gentle, soothing scent. Pair it with Rudbeckia or Coreopsis, and you'll create one of the most stunning color contrasts imaginable. Golden sunshine against a lavender mist. For gardeners who want low maintenance and high drama, Russian sage is unbeatable. Joe-Pye weed, the giant with a gentle heart. Now let's talk about a plant that commands attention, Joe-Pye weed. Don't be put off by the name. This perennial is a giant in the garden, both in size and in impact. Growing up to 6 feet tall, it bears huge clusters of dusky pink or purple flowers in late summer and autumn. If you've ever wanted a plant that creates a focal point, Joe-Pye weed is your answer. But here's what makes it even more special. It's a pollinator magnet. Butterflies, bees, even hummingbirds flock to its blooms. Plant one and you'll have a living show right outside your window. Joe-Pye weed thrives in moist soil and loves full sun to partial shade. It's especially good if you have a damp corner where other plants struggle. And despite its size, it's surprisingly graceful, with stems that sway gently in the breeze. For many gardeners, especially women who have spent years nurturing life in their gardens, Joe-Pye weed feels symbolic, strong, generous, and full of quiet beauty. Now, let me ask you, Can you see this gentle giant holding court in your garden this September? Ornamental grasses, the poetry of autumn. Finally, we come to one of the most underrated stars of the autumn garden, ornamental grasses. While not flowers in the traditional sense, these grasses add something no bloom can: movement, texture, and the poetry of the season. In September, their plumes catch the light, swaying gracefully with every breeze, creating a living rhythm in your garden. Varieties like miscanthus, fountain grass, or switchgrass offer different heights and colors, from soft golden waves to striking bronze or burgundy tones. They pair beautifully with everything we've talked about: mums, asters, sedum, Rudbeckia, Russian sage. The best part? They are almost maintenance-free. Once planted, they need little care, and in winter, their dried plumes continue to add structure and beauty. For older gardeners especially, ornamental grasses are a joy. They bring elegance without work, beauty without burden. And they remind us that sometimes the simplest things, the way the wind moves through grass, are the most beautiful of all. And before we wrap up, let me give you one last golden nugget, a little-known gardener's trick that most people completely overlook. If you plant chrysanthemums and asters side by side, something magical happens. Mums burst open first with those bold autumn shades, and just as they begin to fade, asters pick up the baton with their purples, blues, and whites. The result? A continuous, seamless wave of blooms from late August all the way through October. No awkward gaps, no bare spots, just pure, unbroken beauty in your borders. Imagine looking out your window in September, and instead of seeing flowers fizzle out, you see them rolling on like a grand finale that never ends. That's the secret, and now it's yours. So there you have it, 17 autumn perennials that wow. Each one carefully chosen to keep your garden alive with color, texture, and charm when most people think the season is over. From the classic chrysanthemums and asters to those graceful grasses that sway in the breeze, your garden doesn't have to fade after summer. It can thrive, dazzle, and even surprise you right into autumn. Now, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments below, which of these flowers are you most excited to plant this autumn? Is it the bold Rudbeckias, the elegant Anemones, or maybe those hardy Sedums that never disappoint? Share your thoughts, because your garden story might just inspire someone else. And before you go, I've got something important for you. If you want to know exactly how to protect these plants from the very first frost, you won't want to miss my next video. It's linked right here on the screen. That way, your blooms won't just wow in September. They'll stay safe and strong for the seasons ahead. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a gardening tip. Together, we'll keep your garden glowing all year round.